Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast, where today we're going over UFC 307 Pereira versus Rountree. First things first, make sure you smash that like button, give a follow over on Twitter, over on TikTok, over on Instagram, wherever there's social media. There is the Stats and Stacks podcast. Quick overview of last week just has me say fuck French judging. The crowd is absolutely electric. I still think it's like the best crowd that the UFC has, but the judging has been suspect since day one. Fucking Brito cost us. I still thought he won the fight, but we went against a Frenchman in France, and of course, some shit's gonna go down. The Nora Cornell split decision. The fact that that was even a split was red flag number one. First fight of the night, we should know some weird shit was about to go down. So whatever, you can't live in the past. I apologize for the constant sneezing and sniffling you're going to hear. Allergies and just a cold are whooping my ass harder than the French judges last week. So whatever, it is what it is. Maybe talk through it a little quicker this week, but I ain't going to miss a pod. We're going to go through it, whether it was going through a move, whether it's been being sick before. We are going to make sure we get this information out. So at the end of the day, the card sucks as a pay per view, but all in all, it's an okay card to watch, an interesting card to bet. A lot of wide lines here. But it should be pretty solid reads, you would think. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump into this fight card. 12 fights in total, nothing too crazy. So let's go ahead and jump into the very first fight of the night. We are looking at Tim the Dirty Bird Means at minus 225, going up against Court McGee at plus 185. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 180. Under 2.5 at plus 140. Let's start with the Dirty Bird. The Dirty Bird is 40 years old. He has pretty decent volume. His cardio's hit or miss. It's okay. 66% takedown defense, which is interesting. He always talks about being a high school wrestling coach and loves talking about how good of a wrestler he is. Again, 66% takedown defense isn't great, but he's essentially just a generalist. He has okay jujitsu. He has okay striking. He has okay wrestling. Although he's okay on the ground, he's not like a major submission threat. He doesn't carry a ton of power on the feet. And he is starting to get a little chinny with age. Just not like these younger guys are coming out here and just knocking him out. I mean, Eros Medic did, but Andre Fiala wasn't able to do so. Alex Morono, it was a close fight until he got guillotined. Max Griffin isn't a young gun by any means, but he didn't just knock him out. Kevin Holland also submitted him. His submission defense is a little questionable at times. He's been submitted quite a bit. And although he gets chin checked in all these fights, he's not fully going out outside of his last one with Euros Medic. On the other side, we have Court McGee. And good news for Tim Means is that Court McGee is just as old. He's 39 years old. I think he turns 40 in a few months. He has pretty decent volume. He has good cardio. 69% takedown defense, so right around the same. And he's also a generalist. He has okay jiu-jitsu, he has okay striking, he has okay wrestling, not any power whatsoever. He's also getting a little chinny with age. He's someone who you'll hear them talk about him dying of a drug overdose and coming back to life. They love talking about that, saying he's very hard to put out. He's just a fighter, which is all true, but Father Time is undefeated. He's been knocked out in two of his last three losses. Again, also a generalist. He's not really too big of a submission threat either. They're basically the same thing. Two 40-year-old men with zero power, not the greatest chins any longer, that are okay everywhere. So what I would think, again, I don't really want to pick a side. You can't bet Tim Means at minus 225. That makes absolutely no sense. I think this fight is pretty 50-50. I do want to reiterate that this fight is in Salt Lake City, so it is at elevation. And I will say Court has the better cardio, and that's going to be a factor in a lot of these fights. A lot of these guys are going to gas out. Guys and girls are going to gas out just because of the elevation factor. So that starts to make me lean towards Court, but I don't know. I don't want to bet on a 40-year-old either way. It's dog or pass for me with Court McGee at plus 185. Or if you want to play it safe, neither one of these guys have power. So if you want to take that over 2.5 at minus 180, that's not a bad bet. I could see this going to like a split decision. Or I could see Court dominating later on as Tim gasses out because of the elevation. So the pick is going to be Court. The bet would be Court if you're looking for a dog shot. If you're looking for a parlay piece, I'd probably just take the over 2.5. Next fight of the night, I will not take the over 2.5. We have Ryan Superman Span now at minus 345. That line is growing, going up against Ovin St. Preux at plus 275. Over under set at 1.5. It's a straight pick 'em, homie, for the 1.5. Let's start with Ryan Superman Span. He's 33 years old. Is a lot better at jujitsu than people give him credit. People see him, they see he's jacked, they see how hard he hits, and they assume he's a striker. He's more of a BJJ guy, to be honest with you. Don't get me wrong, he can strike, and he does hit really, really hard. If he clips you, you're going out. He carries a ton of power. But most of his wins are honestly by guillotine. Like he loves his front choke series. Problem with him is that he has 47% takedown defense. His wrestling's not the greatest. He's very chinny, and he has very bad cardio. So that's not good. He is often also one of these guys where I always use like a Rose Namajunas where you can see her and she can be I'm the best and look like the best 115 pounder out there. And then you could also have a Rose that just doesn't show up and does nothing against Carla Esparza and loses. They get in their own heads. Ryan Spann is definitely one of these mentally temperamental people. Nothing against him. It's just sometimes you don't know what version you're going to get. If he's in it to win it, he's a motherfucker and he'll come out there and he'll murder you in round one. Like he is a round one finisher. If he's trying to progress. Like last fight, he was talking about how he's actually training for the first time. He never used to train, and he's gonna preserve his energy. And he was wrestling heavy, and then he gassed out doing that. He's not. He's just like Terrence McKinney, where if you try to slow down, you lose your danger in round one, but you're still gonna gas out regardless. So you might as well go balls to the wall in round one. If you get it, perfect. If you don't, you're gonna lose regardless. You're gonna gas whether you try to preserve yourself or not. So I hope he goes out there as a killer. And part of the reason I think he will is because OSP's last fight is against Kennedy Njoku, and Kennedy is Ryan Spann's best friend. Their main training partners. They train together. In fact, old ass OSP kind of reminds me of you remember when Dominic Cruz over in WEC would continually beat Team Alpha Fal, and he was beating Joseph Benavidez multiple times. He beat Uriah Faber multiple times. Then he fought Cody Garbrandt, and he just continually was beating the same camp. I think about Benoit Saint Denis fighting ATT for a little bit. He beat Tiago Moises. Who else did he beat from ATT? He beat two people from ATT, and then they had to call up Dustin Poirier to get the job done. And then of course we just saw Moicano do it as well. So yeah, it's just another one of those circumstances where they call their big brother to come and handle their business. Again, Ryan Spann is best friends with Kennedy, who just lost to OSP. So OSP also beat Alonzo Menafield, who trains at Fortis MMA, or at least did before he started partnering up with Pat Barry. But again, OSP is the Fortis MMA killer. Problem is he's 41 years old. His striking's okay, but he's very low volume and prefers to counter. He counter strikes and has a front kick up the middle. That's literally all he does for 15 minutes. 67% takedown defense. It's not the greatest number. He slows down himself. I mean, he's 41 years old. You would think that's justified. He's pretty chinny himself. He's 41 years old. You would think that's justified. He hits decently hard. And I rewatched the Kennedy fight because everyone was talking about how he turned back the clock. He didn't. He didn't do anything. He did what he always does. Kennedy just didn't throw. Kennedy was just coming off of a loss, and he kind of just did nothing against OSP. I don't know. He just wasn't there that night. OSP didn't win that fight. Kennedy lost that fight as a big favorite. Yeah, man. I don't believe in this OSP 41-year-old resurgence. He also mentioned retirement multiple times. He's been knocked out by Tanner Bozer. He got knocked out by Philippe Lenz in a few minutes. Like, none of that spells well, especially going against power striker like Spann. Again, Spann gets in his own head, but in my eyes, he's going to go out there and try to get one back for beating his two training partners in Menafield and his best friend in Kennedy. So the pick is going to be Ryan Spann. The bet's going to be Ryan Spann. You're going to have to probably do Ryan Spann round one. And it's very, very scary to bet Ryan Spann as a big favorite, but you cannot bet OSP here. The pick is Ryan Spann, the bet Ryan Spann. God bless. Next fight of the night also has people talking about retirement. We have Carla Esparza at plus 155 going up against Tisha Pennington at minus 185. Over 2.5 is minus 660. God damn. Under 2.5 is plus 420. Let's start with Tisha Torres, aka Tisha Pennington, married to the champ and Rocky Pennington. She's 35 years young. She has very good striking. She is fast as shit. Is a very good level of competition. Like, in order to fight for a title, you have to fight Tisha Pennington first, apparently. Again, she's just very short, stocky, quick as hell, probably the quickest girl in the weight class. Very good cardio. Takedown defense seems to be a thing. It's a little bit of a struggle at 65% takedown defense. The thing is, her takedown defense isn't terrible. 65 is a lot lower than you would think. But she has a very good get up game. If you do get her down, she is not down long. She is right back up. And that is part of the reason that number is so low, because people can continually take her down because her get up game is so good. It's like she doesn't even care that much because she's just going to get straight up. I don't know, man. They fought before. She has pretty good volume. They fought before. They fought on the Ultimate Fighter years and years and years ago. Carla won that matchup, and I went back and rewatched it. I know they're not the same girls now than they were back then, but that fight was close. I know it only went two, and they just called it. That could have and probably should have went to a third round, and it honestly, Tisha's takedown defense hasn't gotten much better, and Carlos' striking hasn't gotten much better. So, although it's been years ago, it's pretty much going to be the same matchup. And it was close then. It's probably going to be close now. This thing probably goes to a split decision, to be honest with you, mainly because we have the epitome of striker versus grappler. The thing with Tisha, though, is that she was talking about retirement. She had a baby last year, said that she came back, and if she won dominantly, she was going to retire. If she got absolutely decimated by Tabitha Ricci, she was going to retire. What happened? She went to split decision in a fight I thought she won, and they gave the split to Tabitha. And that made Tisha mad. That made Tisha think she still has it, and she can go out on a win. So she's back. She said she was going to retire. If it was dominant either way, she was done. But because it went to a split and she thought she didn't get the nod when she was supposed to, she had that fire lit to come back. And I don't know if she wins dominantly, if she's going to leave, if she loses. I don't know what she's going to do. I do know what Carlos Esparza is going to do, and that's going to be retire. She already has gone out and publicly said this is her swan song. She's also coming off of a pregnancy, just had her first child. She's 36 years old, hasn't fought in 2 years now. She'll have a 2-inch advantage, but it doesn't matter because she doesn't strike. She has very good wrestling. And Carla was very good for the sport. Carla was very good at the sport back in her day. But as 2024, you cannot be one dimensional anymore. Her jiu-jitsu is okay. She can get aggressive when she's on top. She has a few ground and pound finishes, a few submission finishes. But again, a lot of these girls just don't look the same after the return from having a child. She generally has good cardio, but she hasn't fought in 2 years, and now she's coming back to elevation. She's very low volume, but again, she doesn't strike, so that doesn't matter. Again, I like that she won the first fight, and now she's a plus 155 dog. She's done nothing but fight the best the UFC has to offer, and I think we need to give Carla her roses while she's here. She was good, man. Carla was very, very good, and she cast for me left and right. She's always disrespected. She's a two-time champion. Like, not a lot of girls can say that. She might be, let's see, Amanda, Valentina. I don't know who else has won the belt 2 times. Rose. Have only 4 girls. Wei Li Zhang. So there's only 4 or 5 girls in the history of the UFC that have won a belt more than once. And one of them is Carla fucking Esparza. Like, she is good. And she's always the dog, even as a 2-time champ. Grasso, she was a dog. Michelle Waterson Gomez, she was a dog. Marina Rodriguez, she was a dog. Yan Janan, she was a dog. All she did was print me money as a dog. And I loved it. And now here she is as a dog again. God, I want to press the button. But 2 years off, that's just too much for me. I can't do it. Again, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a split. But at the end of the day, these people that are going out and retiring don't really generally win. So the pick is going to be Tisha Torres, or sorry, Tisha Pennington. The bet's going to ultimately be Tisha Pennington, unfortunately. I want to pull for Carla, but I just can't click the button right now. Next fight of the night. This one's been a little weird. I don't know why it's not listed on a lot of the sports books. But we have Alexander Hernandez at minus 200 going up against Austin Doug Hubbard at plus 170. I did get those odds, but I can't find the odds for the over under for the round total. So again, I hope this fight is still happening, but I don't know why they're not showing on any of the sports books. Maybe something weird is going on. So we won't spend a lot of time on this fight just in case it doesn't even go down. What I will say is that Alexander Hernandez is 31 years old. He has very good striking. He has okay offensive wrestling. Defensively, he's rocking a 59% takedown defense. His jiu-jitsu is whatever. It's not good. It's not bad. Main thing with him is that he has a ton of power and a bad gas tank. Like he looks phenomenal round one, and it never fails that he's going to slow down in round two and straight gas out in round three. Like that's what he does. Most of his wins are first round finishes. And I know he was at Factory X Muay Thai, and there's been a weird breakup there. I don't really know much about it. But I have no idea where he's training right now. I know it's not at Factory X anymore. So it's very, very confusing, very, very weird. Although he is rocking a 14-8 record, I will say he came into the UFC. He knocked out Beneil Dariush, which is the best win of his life. So the UFC booked him with Donald Cowboy Cerrone and booked him with a lot of tough, tough matchups. He has not had really any easy matchups in the UFC. The few he did have that were easy is because they were short notice, and he handled them appropriately. He knocked out Mike Breeden in round one. He knocked out other people I can't even think of. Chris Gruchmacher in round one. Like when he got an easier competition, he handled them appropriately. But if you give him Tiago Moises or Drew Dober or Hanato Moicano, like those are tough fights. Like they're really, really, really tough fights. At the end of the day, I think he's a really good fighter with a bad gas tank. On the other side, we have Hubbard, who is the complete opposite. He's 32 years old. He's a little bit of a generalist as well. He has okay wrestling that he'll sprinkle in takedowns from time to time. He has okay striking, but he's a little hittable when he's on the feet. But he does have good fight IQ. He knows he's not the best fighter, and he takes the path of least resistance. If you're a striker, he's going to wrestle. If you're a wrestler, he's going to try to sprawl and brawl. He does have good fight IQ, and the best part of his game is his durability and his cardio. He trains in elevation, so the Salt Lake City elevation shouldn't get to him. His jiu-jitsu is not the greatest. He got subbed in his last loss against Kurt Halaba. But his level of competition's okay. A lot of people are on Hernandez, but this is where I think that Salt Lake City elevation is going to sway which way I go. Although I do think Hernandez is the better fighter, they're at elevation, and Hubbard is a good cast tank, and he is durable. If he wasn't durable, I'd probably still be on Hernandez too. But not a lot of guys are going out there and just knocking out Hubbard. You can submit Hubbard, but Alex isn't the greatest BJJ practitioner, so he's a knockout artist, and he's going to try to knock out a very durable guy in elevation. That seems like a bad combination to be a favorite. So give me the plus 170 dog. The pick is going to be Austin Hubbard. Bet's going to be Austin Hubbard. I don't think he's great, but I think this is tailor made for him. Next fight of the night. Talk about tailor made. We have Eor Batoria plus 310 going up against Cesar Almeida at minus 395. Over 1.5 is plus 110. Under 1.5 at minus 140. Let's start with Ihor Pator. Or, let's start with Cesar Almeida. Cesar Almeida is in the UFC for one reason and one reason only, because he beat Alex Pereira in Glory Kickboxing. I want to say he went 1-2 against Alex. Like, he only beat him once and lost twice. But at the end of the day, you have to be a good kickboxer if you're going to go ahead and beat Alex Pereira in a straight kickboxing match. He's 36 years old. That's not good. He has really good striking, obviously. Takedown defense, ass, we found out. When he fought Roman Kopylov, they booked it as striker versus striker. Kopylov tapped into those Dagestani roots and became put on a singlet and became a takedown artist. And Caesar made him look like a good wrestler. Dylan Buckland took him down like 3 times. Even the guy he fought on Contender Series, what was his name? Lucas Fernando took him down multiple times. Takedown defense is ass. His submission game, not great. He will slap in a guillotine. He'll look at his corner, ask if he should pull guard and go for it, and they always tell him no. So that tells me his jiu-jitsu's ass. What we saw in the Contender Series is a good get-up game. What we saw against Dylan Bucko was a good get-up game. What we saw against Roman Kopylov was not. I don't know why he couldn't get up. He ultimately lost that split decision because of that. I thought it could have gone either way. I do think Kopylov probably won, but it was very, very, very close. And what I will say is that although he's 36 years old, he does have good cardio. I haven't seen this man tired. I've seen him go to decision. I've seen him go deep into the second round. He's not breathing heavy. The dude, one of his best asset is his striking. Second best asset is his cardio, man. Even at 36, the dude has good cardio, and that's going to pay dividends in Salt Lake City and elevation fighting Ihor Pretoria. I was shocked to hear that Ihor Pretoria goes for more takedowns than you think. He goes for 1 to 2 takedowns every single UFC fight. Now, don't get me wrong. He's 0 for 8. He's never gotten a takedown, but he will sprinkle them in and shoot for them. He's 28 years old, so he has an age advantage. His striking's not terrible. He just keeps his hands dangerously low, which I don't think is a good idea against Caesar. His power is not terrible, especially dropping down to 185. He's predominantly a 205 pounder that decided he's dropping down to 185. He is a little chinny. I don't know if part of that is because he was fighting guys too big for him or if it's just him. His volume's not bad. He will throw. Problem is, again, with those low hands, he will get hit. He's very, very hittable on the feet. And his worst quality is his cardio. The dude gasses, flat gasses every single fight. His last fight, he didn't gas, but he definitely slowed down. Um, but he also missed weight. So yeah, I think he's yet to make 185 cleanly. Let's see. Actually, he might have made weight in his last fight. Sorry, against Michel Pereira, he might have made weight then. But the fight against Robert Brysek, he missed weight and he looked okay, but he didn't really cut himself down. At the end of the day, he's gonna definitely watch fight tape and think I'm gonna go out there and take Caesar down like everyone else did. But again, the man is 0 for 8 of takedowns. And if he does take down Caesar, it's not like he has good jujitsu. Again, I've seen Caesar get stuck on his back against Roman Kopylov, who also doesn't have good jujitsu. That's weird. But I feel like he won't let that shit happen 2 times in a row. I've seen him get taken down and get right back up. And I think that's what he's going to do this time. Or he's just not going to get taken down and he's going to starch Ihor. Again, Caesar's 36 years old. And it's basically striker versus striker. Anyone can get knocked out. They both carry a ton of power. But if Ihor tries to wrestle, that's not his usual game plan. And I think he's going to gas. If he tries to strike, although it's 50-50 on the feet with both of them having power, Caesar's technically the better striker and keeps his hands up, as to where Ihor's are down by his hip, so he's more likely to get hit. So if it's striking, it should be Caesar. If Ihor wrestles, he's going to get tired. It should be Caesar, and that's why Caesar is such a big favorite. The pick is going to be Caesar Almeida. The bet is going to be Caesar Almeida. And that takes us to the next fight of the night. We have Marina Rodriguez at plus 145 going up against Yasmin Lucindo at minus 175. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 330. Under 2.5 at plus 240. Now Lucindo opened as the dog and is now a minus 175 favorite. And I think people are buying the dip. I think she's very, very good. I think she's good enough to be a future title challenger. Do I think she's ready for Marina Rodriguez right now? No. And the reason I say that is because she's 22 years old. The girl is young. The girl's green. She's still learning. I know she has a ton of experience, 16-5, and she's 22 years old. I think her first pro fight, she was like 13, 14, something crazy like that. Brazil's a wild place, man. At the end of the day, she has good striking. She has good wrestling. She has pretty decent jujitsu. She utilizes her wrestling and jujitsu against strikers. She strikes against wrestlers. She has good fight IQ. I like everything about her. Things I don't like. She likes to counter, so sometimes that affects her volume a little bit. Her cardio is not bad by any means. It's not great. She'll slow just a touch, but just at the last like 2 minutes of the third round or something like that. But ultimately, she's a very, very good fighter. She's has zero weaknesses. She has good IQ and she's good everywhere. The reason I'm not going to pick her is mainly because of optics and volume. Marina Rodriguez throws a ton of volume and she throws extremely hard. Um, I just think at 37 years old, that's a little bit of a red flag. But some of these girls just don't show it at 37, and she's another one where she's old as dirt, but I think she still has it. She is the better striking. She's a good striker. She hits harder, so it looks better. So if her strikes look better and she throws more, that's just obviously a good combo. Her schedule, strength of schedule, Lucindo just beat Karolina Kowalkiewicz, which is okay. It's an okay win. Marina Rodriguez just went to split decision with Jessica Andrade, like levels to this shit. She has much improved takedown defense. It used to be absolutely terrible, but she's figured it out and she's gotten better. And now she's starting to threaten submissions on the ground. She's never been submitted, and she's fought people like Amanda Hebos and Mackenzie Dern. Like she's fought the who's who of the jiu-jitsu world in this weight class. It is yet to be submitted. So I don't see Lucindo getting the submission. And if you do take Marina down, she learned to get a good get up game. She saw her holes and has gotten much better at it. She has very, very, very good cardio. She's getting a touch chinny with age. We saw her get rocked in her last fight against Jessica Andrade. We saw her get knocked out against Amanda Lemos. She's been rocked and cracked quite a few times here as of late, but that's father time. But Lucindo doesn't necessarily hit hard. He's not going out there getting a ton of knockouts. So I think Marina's chin is good enough for Lucindo. I think Lucindo is a good fighter. I think she's going to be really, really, really good 5 years down the road when she's in her prime. But she's 22 years old. She's the youngest girl in the weight class. And although Marina's older, optically, in a fight that should take place on the feet mainly, I'm going to go ahead and pick the underdog that hits harder and throws more volume. So the pick is going to be Marina Rodriguez. The bet's going to be Marina Rodriguez. Next fight of the night. We have another passing of the torch the UFC is trying to set up. We have Stephen Wonderboy Thompson at plus 170 going up against Joaquin Buckley at minus 205. Sorry about that. I told you I was going to be sneezing the whole time. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 215. Under 2.5 at plus 165. Let's start with Wonderboy. Why not? 41 years old. Con, major, major, major con. 41 is old as shit. Has some of the best striking in the weight class. He is a world class striker. 69% takedown defense. We'll come back to that. Jiu-jitsu, non-existent. Not a jiu-jitsu guy, not a threat at all, but he does have great cardio. He'll definitely have the crowd behind him. He hits decently hard. Like, people forget how hard he actually cracks. And he's hard to hit himself. Now, don't get me wrong. If you do hit him, dude's low-key chinny. We saw him rocked against Kevin Holland. We saw him get put out cold by the GOAT, Anthony Pettis. Um, we've seen him rocked quite a few times. Now, in regards to the 69% takedown defense, it's not the greatest number. I wish it was higher. And you look at the guys that beat him. Anthony Pettis knocked him out because he's the GOAT. Outside of that, Shavkat grappled him. Gilbert Burns grappled him. Darren Till did not, and I thought he won that fight. That was in Darren Till's hometown in Liverpool, and that was some sketchy judging. And then Tyron Woodley rocked him, and they went to draws. So that was kind of weird as well. But mainly you take him down, you grapple him, and you hold him down. The thing is, Gilbert did that up against the cage, and it was cage wrestling. Shavkat did that up against a cage, and it was cage wrestling. Bilal did that up against a cage, and it was cage wrestling. You have to be a good MMA wrestler in order to get Wonderboy down. Otherwise, other people are struggling to. Joaquin Buckley is not a good cage wrestler. I've never seen him get a takedown up against a cage. I see Joaquin Buckley use his explosiveness. The dude is an athlete. Like, that's what he is. I wouldn't even say fighter. The dude is an absolute tank of a man. Hits extremely hard, which isn't good for Wonderboy's chin. That's not great. But his striking's okay. His jiu-jitsu's non-existent. His wrestling, he's been mixing in a ton. We saw him wrestle Abdul Razak Al Hassan. We saw him wrestle against Nazardine Rozabayev. We saw him wrestle against Alex Morono. He's been wrestling a lot as of late. He's been Vicente Luque. He's putting on his singlet. He's going out there and he's getting wins. The thing is, he only has one takedown. It's a blast double. That's all he has. I've never seen Wonderboy blast doubled. I only see him get taken down against the cage. Is he liable to get blast doubled? Absolutely. Absolutely. But until I see it, nah, I don't know, man. Buckley's top game also isn't great. Shavkat, Bilal, they can just hold you down when they get you down there. Buckley doesn't have good jiu-jitsu. So I think Wonder Boy can just get up, to be honest with you. Buckley has good game plans. He's much better than I thought he was, but he is a little chinny himself. And he also has some bad cardio, and we're in elevation. He's a striker that's going to have to wrestle. That's going to make him tired. So he's liable to get chin checked and put out. He's liable to gas out. And I can't trust that at minus 205. So the pick is going to be Wonder Boy Thompson. The bet's going to be Wonder Boy Thompson. We're value chasing. Then we're into the main card, and people are going to start paying with Roman Dolidze plus 135 going up against Kevin Holland at minus 160. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 210. Under 2.5 plus 160. Hear me out. Let's start with Kevin Holland, the man that knocked out Joaquin Buckley in his debut. Kevin Holland is 31 years old. He has a 5-inch reach advantage in this matchup. He fluctuates between 170 and 185. He has very good striking, very, very good jiu-jitsu that no one talks about. Wrestling ass. That's what we all know. His takedown defense is terrible. 54% takedown defense. You look at his leg, he's falling down. You just whisper the word takedown, and the dude just falls down. He can't help it. His wrestling's bad. It's gotten better. He's been training with Johnny Hendricks, trying to work on his takedown defense, and we even saw him get a few offensive takedowns against Michael Venom Page. We saw him get some takedown. I think he took down Wonder Boy up against the cage as well one time. But he's very, very durable. He has world-class cardio. The dude never gets tired, which is going to be big here in this matchup. Generally, I don't like when fighters. I don't like when. So for this instance, he fights a lot at 170. Roman Dolidze fights a lot at 205. They're meeting in the middle at 185. So they're almost 2 weight classes apart, and they're kind of going to look it. Roman's a thick, thick boy. I don't like betting on the smaller guy. I always like betting on the bigger guy. Problem with Roman, I love Roman. He's my guy. I've been rocking with him since he got into the UFC. He has a few red flags, though. He's 36 years old. Okay. And his fight IQ's ass. And he's just very, very physically slow. Like nothing against him. He carries a ton of power. He's world class on the ground. I don't know why people don't talk about how good he is on the ground. I do truly, in my heart of hearts, believe he is the best jiu-jitsu guy at 185. I truly do. Sorry, hold on. I forgot about Andre Muniz was there because he goes back and forth between 205 and 185. I will say he is the best jiu-jitsu guy because he's the black belt hunter. He is the best jiu-jitsu guy, hands down, at 205. And at 185, he's probably top 3, top 4. You have the black belt hunter. You have Mark. You have Brendan Allen. You have Andre Muniz. Paul Craig, all those guys are very, very good on the ground, but he's at least top 5. And at 205, he's number 1, hands down. But this fight is at 185, okay? He carries a ton of power, which he needs because he's so fucking slow. And he's pretty durable, which he needs because he's so fucking slow. He's very low volume. He hits like an absolute truck, but because he throws so little, he's very, very hittable when he's on the feet. And his cardio's ass. He slows down in every single one of his fights. If he wanted to, he would just take Kevin Holland down. And I don't know if he would submit Kevin right away, but he would at least be able to hold him down, grapple, and win an easy fight that way. He's going to be twice his size. Literally grab a body lock, drag him down to the floor, grab Kevin, drag his skinny ass down to the floor, and just lay on top of him. You will win this fight. Easy. But the first thing we said was Roman doesn't have the greatest fight IQ, and that's because Roman's a showman. Roman doesn't want to just do the easy route. He doesn't use his jiu-jitsu. He wants to go out there and scrap. He went out there on short notice and banged with Anthony Smith. He went out there and banged with Nasruddin Imavov. He could submit both of those guys, but he decided to go out there and bang. He banged with Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori is a terrible jiu-jitsu practitioner, but he went out there and he just stood and banged with him. He loves to be a showman. And here's the problem with that. This is a live crowd. This is in front of people. If you think for 1 second he's going to do what he did with Loreno Staropoli, when he just held him up against the cage with the body lock for 13 minutes, that's not going to happen in front of a crowd. He's going to go out there and try to knock Kevin's head off. Kevin has a reach advantage. Kevin has a speed advantage. Kevin has a technical advantage. Kevin is the better striker. Roman can take him down and lay on top. But Roman's a showman. He's not going to do it. He's going to try to stand and bang, and he's going to ultimately lose a decision doing so, being stupid. So the pick is going to be Kevin Holland. The bet's going to be Kevin Holland, and we're betting on Roman to be hard headed, literally. Next fight of the night, we have Kayla Harrison at minus 800 going up against Ketlin Vieira. Over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 minus 155, under 2.5 at plus 120. Let's just start with Ketlin Vieira. Ketlin Vieira is okay. She's not great. She's 33 years old. She has a 2-inch reach advantage, which is nice. But she's a little bit of a generalist herself. She has okay wrestling. She has okay jujitsu. She has okay striking, decent power, an okay schedule. She's good everywhere. She prefers to counter. She doesn't like to go first. So her volume's not the greatest. And you can back her up as she's just trying to sit there and counter strike the whole time. Honestly, she doesn't really throw when she's at distance. Like if you, she likes to kind of get close and get into a little brawl. She doesn't throw any kicks whatsoever. She doesn't know what to do when you're out of range. She likes to literally just get in your face and swing heavy the whole time. Loves throwing hooks. Nothing's down the pipe. Get in your face and throw hooks and then wrestle. Like that's what she does. Those two things. 91% takedown defense looks great. The problem is she fought Misha Tate, who got her down once. She was like 1 for 8, which is good. Good for her. She stuffed a whole bunch. Misha's an okay wrestler, but Panny doesn't wrestle. Raquel Pennington shot 2 takedowns, but she's not really a wrestler. Holly Holm isn't a wrestler. Yana Santos isn't a wrestler. Sarah Bank is. She can wrestle a little bit. I'll give her that. Irene Aldana isn't a wrestler. So yeah, you're looking at her last few fights. Uh, yeah, not the greatest wrestler. So her takedown defense might be a little skewed at 91%, especially going up against Kayla Harrison, who is a judo gold medalist. She's 34 years old. Please, please, please watch weigh-ins here. She is someone who's notoriously fought at 155. They don't have that in the UFC. She had to drop 2 weight classes. She's all skin and bones on weight night on weigh-ins, but she did make weight against Holly Holm. 34 years old, great world-class wrestling. Really, really, really good jujitsu. And her striking's getting better. She has a really snappy left head kick that she throws out there. And her strike is not terrible. I will say Vieira is probably the better striker, but Kayla can hold her own. Her cardio's okay, especially for someone that's cutting that much weight. Level of competition's not bad. But she's one that's in or she's out. She's throwing those kicks from far away where Ketlin does nothing, or she's in your face and instead of throwing heavy hooks, she's throwing you down to the ground with her judo black belt. So she is in and she is out. And she's very hard to read. I think she's a very, very good fighter. The UFC thinks she's the future champion, hence her being minus 800, hence her being on the same card as the champion. If she wins, they're basically going to give her a title fight. The UFC's wet dream is her versus Amanda Nunes. Because Kayla is in the GOAT conversation. It's Cyborg, it's Kayla, and it's Nunes. And Valentina. You can say Valentina. It's those four. Or if you have a Mount Rushmore women's MMA, who's the best. Although Ronda was good on a marketing standpoint, actual good fighters, it's Kayla, it's Valentina, it's Amanda, and it's Cyborg. And if you could have Amanda already fought Cyborg, she already fought Valentina. The only one she hasn't beaten is Kayla. If they can get Amanda to come out of retirement to fight Kayla, the UFC, that's their ultimate goal. So the pick is going to be Kayla. The bet's going to be Kayla. Minus 800 isn't something I want to touch. But I will say Kayla fought Larissa Pacheco over in PFL multiple times. And that went to decision the last time. The second time they fought, it went to decision. First time they fought, did that one go to decision? Uh, did they only fight twice? No, 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 no. Went to decision. Yeah. So she fought Larissa Pacheco 3 times. It went to decision all 3 times. And Ketlin reminds me just like Larissa Pacheco. So if I'm going to bet anything, it's probably going to be the over 2.5. But damn, that's going to be a sweat because Kayla's an absolute killer. So the pick is going to be Kayla. The bet's going to be the over 2.5 because I cannot bet minus 800 women's MMA. Next fight of the night, we have the return of the King of Rio, Jose Aldo, going up against Mario Batista. Batista is minus 140. I'll come back on Aldo is plus 120. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 315. Under 2.5 plus 230. Let's start with the King of Rio because I'm just excited to talk about Aldo. One of my childhood favorites. He's 38 years old though, so that's a huge, huge, huge red flag. But like Marina Rodriguez, he's one of these guys that just don't show their age. He is the most defensive fighter I've ever seen in my life. He is the best takedown defense, the best striking defense. The dude is incredibly hard to hit, and he's incredibly hard to take down. The dude has been fighting in the UFC and under the Zuffa promotion since 2000. Let's see, 2000. Let's just say just UFC. Just UFC has been fighting since 2011. The dude has a 91% takedown defense. That's 13 years worth of fighting. 91% takedown defense. That's unheard of. Marab went against Aldo 2 years ago, went 0 for 16 on takedowns against Aldo. The dude's takedown defense is impeccable. The dude's power is awesome. He drops people every single fight. Dude's striking is great. He doesn't leg kick anymore. He's predominantly a boxer, but he's making it work. And when you look at the people he's lost to, he lost to Peter Yan, a former champ, Marab, the current champ, in a close fight. Marlon Moraes, that was a really weird fight. It was a split, and everyone thought that Jose won, so that was weird. He lost to Alexander Volkanovski, the former champ, at 145, and Max Holloway twice at 145, and he lost to Conor McGregor, former champ. So he's lost to no one but champs and Marlon Moraes. That's it. That's literally it. And that's at 145 and 135. The dude fights, he was fighting at 145 for the hell of it. He was a 135 pounder the whole time. Great fight IQ. This dude is one of the best. He's just simply one of the best. He just lulls you to sleep. He's kind of lower volume. He makes you fight at his pace. He lulls you to sleep, and then he explodes. The dude is just a freakish athlete. On the other side, we have Mario Batista. He's 31 years old. This is the biggest level of step up he's ever had in competition. He has good striking. He has good BJJ. He trains at the MMA lab with Sean O'Malley and the Matrix Kyler Phillips. He throws a ton of volume. He's had very, very improved wrestling as of late. He's a good fight IQ, good takedown defense, but that doesn't really matter at this Aldo fight. And he'll try to mix in takedowns, but again, Aldo's 91% over 13 years. If Marab went 0 of 16, I don't know if Mario Batista is going to get takedown here. Um, you can chin check him. That's his major Achilles heel. I've seen him rocked multiple times, and I saw him knocked out once. So he is someone that, although he's statistically probably a top 10 fighter in the weight class, he's that good. Like, he's slept on. He's very, very, very good. It's just he has good cardio. He has good jiu-jitsu. He has good striking. He has okay wrestling. You can just chin check him. Uh, it's going to come down to quantity versus quality in this matchup. Aldo's going to have the harder shots that look better and the crowd behind them. Batista's going to have more volume. Which one are the judges going to look at? I think it's going to be a split. And at the end of the day, I'm going to take the plus money, and that just happens to be on my guy Aldo. So the pick is going to be Jose Aldo. The bet's going to be Jose Aldo. And if you want to get greasy, you can also bet Aldo by split and try to juice it up a little. Then we have our first of two title fights. We have Raquel Rocky Pennington at minus 175, going up against Juliana Pena at plus 145, over under set at 4.5, over 4.5 minus 270, under 4.5 at plus 200. Let's start with Rocky. Rocky is 36 years old, so that's not a good start. She's a little bit of a generalist herself. She is okay wrestling. She is okay striking. She is okay jiu-jitsu, loves her a bulldog choke. Her cardio is good, and she's very clinch heavy. Even when she doesn't want to clinch, she just finds herself in a clinch. 63% takedown defense is not a great number by any means, but she does have good volume and a good get-up game. She's never been submitted on the ground. Again, she's very good at getting back up. She just loves to strike in the clinch. Like, she loves to just dirty box. That's her thing. Dirty boxing Rocky. She does. That's all she does. Counters as she backs up pretty well. She's very, very, very good at countering while moving back. Not everyone can fight going backwards. Rocky can. She seems to struggle Like if you try to go upper body with her, it doesn't work. She's pretty strong. It's just the single legs and double legs are where she seems to struggle with like folk style wrestling. That's basically all of her takedowns are singles and double legs. And again, when she gets taken down, she does give up her back to get up. But again, she's never been subbed. She's very good at doing it like Uriah Faber style. On the other side, we have Juliana Pena, who's 35 years old now, and has a lot of question marks. Honestly, people say Rocky is the worst champion they've ever had at 135. Oh, I think it might be Juliana Pena. I mean, first of all, her record's what 10-5. It's not a crazy record here. She last fought 2 years ago. That's not. I don't like that at all. She is okay. She has good wrestling. I'll give her that. Her striking's not good. She'll have an inch and a. She'll have 1.5 inch reach advantage in this matchup, which is key. But she just punches forward and just spams punches that couldn't bust a grape. Like she just marches forward, chin straight up in the air, extremely hittable, and just wants to push you up against the cage, clinch you, take you down, and then ground and pound you. The problem is she doesn't seem to have bad cardio, but she gets submitted all the fucking time later on. That's all she does is get submitted in round three. She went to decision against Amanda Nunez. She got submitted in round three against Jermaine Durandamy. She got submitted at the very end of round two against Valentina. Um, she's been she went to decision against Diana Balbina. She got finished at the very last second of round two with a doctor stoppage against Sarah Moraes. Just all of these are the very back end of round two, very start of round three. She just seems to crumble under pressure. And again, she's getting submitted by Germaine and Valentina, who are traditionally Thai boxers. So her getting submitted by them is not a good look. Um, she has good cardio, I think, but again, she seems to crumble after a while. She's very low volume. She's very hittable. She's just Rocky said that she's there because she talks, and she is. Most girls in this weight class don't say a word. Kayla talks, and that's probably why she's getting the next title shot. Outside of that, it's very, very ho hum quiet. Juliana talked her way into a title fight, is what Rocky's saying, and I don't think she's wrong. Juliana has in her last five fights gone one. She's gone 3-2 in her last five fights, and she has two title fights in there. Like none of this makes any sense. She got a title fight before Jermaine Durandamy, after JDR submitted her. Like it makes zero sense. She just talks a lot. The UFC likes that. They could try to book it, and luckily these two were in the Ultimate Fighter house together. They have a little storyline there. They do not like each other. They're trying to sell tickets. So at the end of the day, I think this is one of the most 50-50 fights on the card. Common sense says to bet Pena at plus 145. I just don't want to fucking do it. To be honest with you, that's where the value is. That's what you should do. I'll even go as far as to pick her to win. Will I bet her? Not that 2 year layoff. That's the only thing holding me off it. I can put my pride aside to make money, but not with the 2 year layoff. I can't do it. So the pick is going to be Pena. The bet's going to be Rocky or just the over 4.5. Both these girls are durable. Both of them are okay in jiu-jitsu. Over 4.5 is minus 270. Let's take that route. Neither one hits hard. But the next two do hit hard in our main event of the evening. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe, give the video a like, give a follow over on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever there's social media. There's a Stats and Stacks podcast, and share the video, man. Let's build this thing here. We have Else Pereira at minus 520 going up against Khalil Rountree at plus 390. Over under line at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 130. Under 1.5 at plus 100. Let's start with Khalil Rountree. Probably shouldn't be getting this title fight, but we're here now, so let's deal with it. Khalil's 34 years old. He has good striking. He carries a ton of power. His level of competition is not the greatest, especially his wins. He's pretty low volume. He has no jiu-jitsu whatsoever. He has no wrestling whatsoever. Uh, I don't know, man. He's been chin checked a few times and knocked out heavy by Johnny Walker. I've seen him rocked before. I've seen Ian Kutalaba go on and just ground and pound the shit out of him. His cardio's not very good, to be honest with you. He gets very, very tired very, very quickly. But that's part of the reason he's been so low volume now. It's a way to just conserve energy. He's another one of these guys like Ryan Spann, where he's mental, man. Ty Leal is the one that came back from Thailand and was an absolute tank, knocking everyone out. Khalil is the one that's getting scared of Eon during the weigh-ins and just looks like he doesn't want to be in the octagon. All credit to Khalil again, talking about mental health, talking about suicide prevention. Like he's good for the sport. He's a genuinely good dude. It's just 205 is the weakest weight class in the UFC currently. I don't think he should be fighting for a title, but in all actuality, they don't want to give Magomed Ankalaev the title fight, and they have literally no one else. So that's the only reason Khalil's getting there. On the other side, we have Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira is 37 years old. Let's not forget that the dude's about to turn 38. Father time, baby. He has a ton of power, a 3.5 inch reach advantage, really good striking. Um, is jiu-jitsu crazy to say? I think he has a jiu-jitsu edge in this matchup. Wrestling, no. Neither one can wrestle to save their lives. Um, he's the UFC poster boy right now, so the UFC would do everything in their power to make sure he wins. They do not want Khalil Rountree to be the champion. That's why they only give him strikers. I mean, he's fought Yuri Prohaska, who's a striker. He fought Izzy a few times. He's a striker. He fought Jamal Hill, who's a striker. He fought Bruno Silva, who's a striker. He fought Sean Strickland, who's a striker. Like, there's a reason they're not giving him grapplers, but at the same time, there's not really any grapplers that exist at 205, and at 185, they kept him away from like Marvin Vittori and Robert Whitaker, the guys that could take him down. They kept him away from, and it's not anything he's doing wrong. He's a world class kickboxer. He has a ton of power, probably the hardest puncher in the weight class, and he could knock out anyone at any point in time. That's his whole shtick, Shama. But do I trust his chinny ass at minus 520? No, the dude's almost 38 years old. It's not his fault his chin is deteriorating. But we saw him rocked against Yuri. We saw him rocked against Bruno Silva. We saw him knocked out against Izzy. We saw him rocked another time against Izzy. The dude can get cracked and wobbled all the fucking time. He's been knocked out, even in glory kickboxing, multiple times. He doesn't have a granite chin. You can crack him. And the older he gets, the worse it's going to get. Khalil hits hard enough to take him out. And here's the real grease. You wanna put on, as my boy Clint would say, a tinfoil hat. Khalil Rountree has fought 3 glory kickboxers in the UFC. He fought Goku, what's his name? Saki Goku. Oh God, I need to look it up. It's very, very, very greasy. Gohan. Sorry, I'm a DBZ guy, so they're all blending together. He fought. Where is it? Oh yeah, Gohan Saki, glory kickboxer, world renowned, knocked him out. Okay, he fought oh God, Roberson. What's his name? Where's he at? Roberson. He fought Carl Roberson, glory kickboxer, knocked him out. And then he fought Dustin Jacoby, glory kickboxer. What a very questionable split decision, but won the fight. The dude has fought 3 glory kickboxers and is 3-0. Now he's getting a fourth. Should he win this fight? Fuck no. Does he have a path? Yeah, and it's not wrestling. It's knocking him out like he did the other glory kick. And just because they've kickboxed for years does not mean they're invincible. Anyone can go out at any point in time, and we've seen Alex go out before. What's to stop Khalil from landing a punch? He can't, but Ty Leal can. We don't know which one's going to show up. It's very imperative we watch these weigh-ins, we watch the face-offs. Let's see how intimidated he is, because Alex is intimidating with the red face paint during the weigh-ins. And then when he comes out and he shoots the bow and arrow at you, it's kind of scary. But if Khalil looks locked in, he looks dialed in, I'm going to have to click the button that he's on. So the pick is going to be Pereira. He should win, but the bet's going to be Khalil by KO. Because I'll just say Khalil at plus 390. Odds are good enough. Just because, man, he is 3-0 against kickboxers. Can he go 4-0? And that's UFC 307, Pereira versus Rountree. Again, I apologize for the nasal voice, but we made it through it. I apologize for not hitting all of these locks. I keep going 1 for 1 for the past like 5 weeks. Let's buck the trend. Let's get it together, and let's make money this weekend. Let's get after it.